Welcome to Mojo Talks, where we explore the world through stories. I'm Mayur Chenigiri, visual storyteller and your host. Welcome to Mojo Talks with Mayur Chenigiri, and today's guest is Mahesh Bhat. He's a photographer, teacher, but more than anything, the way I would like to describe him is a visual historian. Mahesh, thanks and welcome to Mojo Talks.
Thank you. Thank you.
You've been doing photography for 40 plus years and you've seen the evolution from film to digital to what it is today. What's been the experience?
Yes, it's very interesting because when I started off mid 80s, and we had film and manual focus cameras lenses. There was no autofocus.
Wow. Okay.
If you look at some of my pictures, I mean, even when I look at my photographs, I said, how did I get such razor sharp results of shooting a Kambara, the buffalo race in Mangalore, with manual focus? But I was young, so reflexes were. I kind of think, wow, I did this. Did I? How did I ever focus so fast? And then there was this revolution. I mean, it was actually a revolution. The manual focus becoming autofocused lenses. I kind of vaguely recollect conversations between photographers saying that, what do you think? Will the lenses be the same? Will it affect our eyes? Blah blah blah. There was a lot of talk. A lot of trepidation as well. When it was a shift, seismic shift, and then that analog to digital was a major game changer, and everybody was scared. Say that will it are we going to have photography be the same like how it was, etc., etc. But there was a long period of transition then.
Yes,
because it was still hybrid. Then you'd shoot, scan, go to a specialized place for
which used to be Gigi Welling and Prabhu at that point, if I remember.
Most of my processing was done, I think, like many of us, was done by T.N.A. Perumal.
Perumal, sir, yes.
And his sons. Perumal was not doing processing at that time, but his sons were doing processing, the E6 in black and white, and a couple of others. That transition period was very interesting because the first Mac that could do image processing came to Bangalore in the 90s. Okay. So I still remember Sudhir Ramchandran, my dear friend, announcing when we were sitting together and chatting about something, saying, now Bangalore has this computer Mac, kind of. Everybody was excited. 48 MB of RAM was like mega.
Wow. Macintosh.
Yeah, and you had something called magneto-optical drives in which you took your pictures up and down. Like you can
literally slide it.
It was such a big device, reader, and a magneto-optical drive was bigger than a CD. It is the LD-CD, some kind of a variant, which really didn't last too long.
Okay.
So you could take I had a Mac, I bought one sometime in the late 90s, and Power Mac as it was called. Apple was just coming into India. They just had a liaison office. PC was nowhere near processing power to do, and then we used to take it for scanning, several thousand rupees per scan. Then you bring it at home and start working on, etc., etc. So that was very interesting. Then if you traveled abroad, you'd go to New York and then see some of these Dougal's color projects labs and things like that. So then the entire digital shift happened sometime post 2004 or 5. That's when
around 4 or 5 is when the thing happened.
Completely shifted over to digital. That changed completely, and the internet.
Yes.
So if I don't know if you'll believe me, but till internet came in, none of us got international assignments. They would fly photographers from wherever else to shoot like a portrait.
Seriously?
Yeah. So if Fortune magazine wanted a portrait of somebody then, India, say, IT revolution hadn't begun yet. It was, say there was a story, okay, there was a story. So, then they would fly somebody down because they didn't trust us. Then how would you send those pictures back? There was hardly any couriers and DHL. I don't know if it was there, customs, etc. So only after I put up my first website, it's still maheshbhat.com. Since then, I got my first assignment.
Oh, wow.
So international assignment. Getty called me and said, "Hey, can you do these pictures for us?" So then we would shoot digitally and then actually go looking for a cyber cafe
Yes.
that had the capacity to send these
So
images.
I think back then it was Coffee Day, and then I think Reliance also used to have cyber cafes. Right?
No, then private place. There are a lot of
the small ones.
Yeah, it was
okay.
Coffee Day was the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you used to get a 60 rupees per hour, and you used to get a coffee. Free,
Yes.
you know?
On Brigade Road.
Yeah, but there were other cyber cafes. So that's how it was. And that's completely changed. I mean, coming to think of it, which many people can't believe today, is when I started off, mid 80s, the customs duties on cameras were 250%.
Wow.
Okay.
How could you afford?
We never bought, we always.
From the grey market.
Grey market, I mean, I can openly say it now, the friendly neighborhood smuggler.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, there was such a person whose name I won't.
We all know that.
Yeah.
Because most of us, I think,
Yeah.
bought a first camera from him.
Yeah, I still have my Nikon F3 that I bought in '87, and owning anything more than one camera without papers was illegal, was a crime.
Wow.
Yeah, customs could raid and take it away. It has happened.
But I think if I remember in your book, you did mention about this, and you actually got offered some custom officer work.
Oh yeah, it was my first visit to the US, first visit abroad, '92. I was traveling to America from Bombay. So that's where your immigration customs check happened. So I put my handbag through the machine. The guy called me and I was like frightened, finished. Kate mugito. So then he said, "Hey, I see that there are 2 cameras in your bag." And he looked at my passport. There's one camera was already entered.
Okay.
I mean, you could own a camera without papers. My F3, Nikon F3. Other one was an FM2. He said, "This is a cop in uniform." He said, "Can you sell this camera to me? I will give you the money in any currency you want."
Wow.
In Mumbai International Airport.
I mean, it was gold, right? I mean, it was precious back then.
Yeah.
And like many of those things back then, accessibility was an issue.
Big. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like even books, for magazines and photography. Like I wanted, this was a time of mid 80s, I was still learning basics of photography. I wanted to go through Ansel Adams's books, the print and the negative, And I looked around. My cousin had a copy. My cousin who was my guru. But of course, I mean, they're precious books.
Yes.
And he would refer them all the time. So then I looked around. Nobody had even heard of those books in no bookstores. If you wait for your uncle, brother, or whoever to come from the US, it'll
take forever.
Now, what did I? So I just wrote to, in my frustration, to United States Information Service, their library in Chennai.
Okay.
USIS library. So I said, "I'm this guy, 17-year-old or whatever. I'm looking for these books. Can you help me?" So it was a registered letter you posted, and I forgot about it. About 20 days later, I get a registered post, beautifully packed post, and I opened and 2 books. So with the letter from the librarian saying that keep it for a month and return it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It was amazing.
You would have imagined.
It's also the kindness and the generosity. And believing some kid or whoever wrote, a faceless person who wrote a letter to you, from Bangalore, and sending the books, which I did. I mean, there was initial photocopiers in those days in Bangalore. The photocopiers used to be the size of this room almost. And so I photocopied some of those, formulas and things that I wanted to, and then I sent the books back. So that's how we started off.
So, I mean, interestingly, I just want to ask Mahesh, how did your photography journey start? I'm guessing it was not planned. or was it?
No, it was not. For my first love was cricket. What to be a cricketer? Serious cricket.
Okay.
Of course, one grew up playing gully cricket, as everybody. I played I got selected for the junior team. Then in my ninth standard, I was in the senior team. I became a star player. I was the opener. But quirk of fate, I was not selected for the state under 15 trial. 15-year-old boy stumbles down and doesn't get selected. It's
hurts.
devastating. It hurts badly. It hurt badly. But there was nobody to tell you that, hey, don't worry, this is not the end of the world. Keep playing. My confidence went down. Though I played for another few years in high school and college, it never came back. So after 12th, I gave up cricket. And what happened was I was a pretty good student. I was top of the class. In my school, I still have my name up there on the roll of honor.
Wow.
So, but I got really, really bored with education. Like teacher would come to.
Surprising to say that. Now the life's taken a full circle and now you are teaching.
Yeah. So I think, again, I'm one of the few full professors in the academic world who doesn't even have an undergrad degree.
Undergrad degree. Yeah.
So I gave up college after 12th. I dropped out.
Wow.
Because by the time my heroes, I used to read Newsweek that my uncle used to buy to subscribe, and then he used to send it to us, his nephews, to read. So I used to read interviews with Steve Jobs, Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, who were all, I think, except Lucas, others were dropouts.
Correct.
Microsoft, Bill Gates. So I dropped out, and around the same time, I was trying to do, what do I do? What do I do in life? Definitely didn't want to do engineering, and not medicine.
Not medicine.
My father was a lawyer, but I was not interested in law at that time. And there were no other opportunities. If you had to go to art school, then you need to know drawing. I can't draw, So that was the only art schools available. Though one of my teachers in 9th standard actually told me that you should go to arts.
Oh, is it?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay. So someone did.
Oh yeah. He saw
that potential.
But he saw the potential. Our mathematics teacher.
Interesting.
Yeah. So he said that. I still remember that conversation. But those days, arts meant doing a BA in history, economics. It had absolutely no future. Now
it's changed.
It's changed.
It's changed
It's
so
completely.
much. Yeah. And back then it was like, okay, engineering, medicine,
law.
If not law, then BCom.
Then loser.
BCom, then
losers. Everybody's a loser.
If nothing happens, then okay.
Yeah. So I was then, at that time, one of my cousins got married. So we are first cousins. So all of us were there it was in a village near Bangalore. So we had all gone as part of the groom's party. And then I was sitting and generally sleeping, Then my another cousin, first cousin, we're all first cousins, he had this, he came with his beautiful Bronica ATRS, and he was taking photographs of our cousin's wedding. I mean, we're all very close. So he was photographing. I said, that was interesting. So he let me look at it, and it was magical to look at.
It was love at first sight.
Yeah, in a way. So then he Rajendra Kumar, that's my first cousin. He's a coffee planter.
Okay.
They've been generationally coffee planters, so he could afford all those cameras. Bronica ETRS in 1985 was, unheard of.
Unheard of.
Yeah. So then he said, come to Bangalore, I'll teach you some photography. So I went to Bangalore. So he said, okay, let's see how good you are. And he gave me his Nikon FM, wow, the beautiful 50mm or 35, whatever lens it was, and said, give me a roll of black and white film. There's no way I could buy all that, He said, now go shoot and come back. Don't come back before you finish 36 exposures.
36.
Yeah. So I went off. They used to live on Racecourse Road, behind Chalukya Hotel,
Okay.
So I went around, walked all the way to via Vidhan Saudha. Vidhan Saudha was an open thoroughfare, photograph Kabban Park.
That was a beautiful time.
Yes,
Walk. I
yes.
mean, for me, Vidhan Saudha, early memories was Sunday going with my family, parents,
Yeah.
sitting on the steps,
Steps, yeah, eating.
eating the bhel puri, the
Yeah.
kadle
All
puri,
kadle puri, bel puri, jola,
joda,
all sorts of things. So I walked. It was a weekday. So then I walked. I went to Kabban Park, Bal Bhavan, photographed, and came back. You know, and he said, "Okay, let's process." So he taught me D7. No, I think it was microdolics. I processed the. Told me how to do it. I processed, or did he process the film? I can't remember. Who processed the film? Then he was a great. Technically, he used to be brilliant. I mean, he's still brilliant in everything that he does. He doesn't do photography.
Okay.
You know. Then he looked at the film. Is, good. You have something in you. You know.
That's it.
2 frames from that roll is still in my portfolio.
Is it?
Yeah, I sold a print from that roll recently.
Wow. Which was this?
It's a picture of people trying to get into a BTS bus in front of Vidhan Saudha, and you see the Vidhan Saudha's dome juxtaposed on the bus.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and people are few people from North Karnataka from the attire, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the, that's still there,
See, this is why when I said you're not just a photographer, you're a visual historian because
Yeah.
you have so many stories and
Yeah.
you've been documenting Bangalore. And if
Yeah.
I recollect the last conversation, you said that Bangalore's lost its charm
Yeah.
of the excitement. I would say charm. Bangalore still has its charm. The excitement, the rustic feeling, the old Bangalore is kind of disappearing, isn't it?
It's not that. It's actually Bangalore, what I talk about in my book, Bangalore to Bangalore, is Bangalore was, this book came up because of a question Nandan Nilekani asked me once.
Okay.
So I've known him for a very long time, So 2008-9, Bangalore was considered to be a hottest city. The tech boom had happened.
Yeah.
So every newspaper and magazine used to wanted to write about Bangalore. They would come to Bangalore, and invariably through Getty was already representing me, and a couple of others. I used to shoot a lot, from Pittsburgh Post Gazette to Newsweek of Japan. Did a lot of assignment. First stop always used to be Infosys. And
yeah.
Nandan would look at me and say, Mahesh, how many times are you photographed? I said, Nandan, that was somebody else, this was someone else. My assignment, don't know, I need to get paid, So those conversations. Then one day he had a little relaxed time, so he asked me, he said, do you think Bangalore could ever be a great world city? That was there. But then he followed it up and said, there's a criteria. What I didn't know, that he was talking about the theory espoused by Jane Jacobs and Richard Florida, the great urbanist, saying that any city, if it has to be really great city, then it has to be really conducive to creative people, where the creativity has to be the economic driver. I said, my answer was no, it can't be. And I didn't see. But Bangalore in the 70s, till about 80s, was such a city, had the potential.
True.
Now, South Bangalore, Gandhi Bazaar, Baswannagudi. This Kannada cinema set standards for the art house cinema, the alternate cinema movement in India. B.V. Karan, Girish Karnad, Kasaravalli, everybody. And every writer used to be there in Baswannagudi, Masti to Karanth to Karnad, Anantamurthy, everybody used to be there. Lankesh. And just imagine the minds, just being there.
Just sitting in that circle itself is
enough. So that's how it was. Theatre, Shankar Nag was around, Nag brothers, and all. Then, before that, in the 40s, Bangalore was a big hub of jazz. Yes. That is a cantonment.
Yeah.
That even continued till 80s with jazz yatras happening every 2 years or something of that sort. So it was. it
It
was
was a
just
cultural potpourri.
Yeah, it was coming up. There was things were sprouting, but then it is the un uncontrolled growth of led by the see. I won't blame the IT revolution as such, but what the this real estate thing that
The
happened,
planning was
yeah,
not.
not and this land just became per square foot thing, and then
Yeah.
that everything took
Just ruined.
ruin. Everything went for a toss. Unplanned growth. There is no. So that is the problem. That kind of in a way destroyed, so to speak, the city.
And it was, you're right, even until a couple of years back, say less than a decade ago, you still had few nooks and corners that would still play jazz. Many of the places in South Bangalore, in Baswangudi, where you would have the, Sammelanas and this thing, they're all slowly disappearing. We don't have too many cultural hubs left. Do you think we'll be able to revive that?
It's always possible to revive cities, but it is going to be a major task. See, that is what it is. In the sense, what happens is that's my right now. I'm an educator. I spend most of the time in at Srishti, it's an art design school, uh, helping, facilitating learning to aspiring designers and artists. So again, I'm inspired by a great sociologist, design thinker called Arturo Escobar, who is in North Carolina, uh, and his book basically is, or his theories about pluriverse. See, what has happened is we have been led to believe that this is one world, one world. Everything. Wherever you go, the same mall, same cookie smell.
Correct.
Same glass and
Same glass and the same
concrete,
facades.
same
and
facade, same. So you believe that whether it's Bangalore, Barcelona, or wherever else, the same world, but it is not. There are multiple worlds within these worlds, pluriverse as he calls it. So within this small area, if you take JP Nagar, which phase is this? Is
The first phase.
first phase. There will be 10 different worlds,
True.
within this area. So if we understand and recognize that there are many worlds within this city, so you have to build it for all the worlds, inhabitants of all these worlds, and not just for cars.
Correct.
You know,
You should be able to cater to everything.
to people and non-human life forms, creativity, music, everything, and then you have to make a new world. It is not just changing the city, you making new world. So that is my focus when I make new world makers. To make those new worlds, you should be able to see it, to be able to visualize it, see different layers. So that's possible, but if there are enough number of people who are these new world makers,
Enough number of people, and there has to be a bunch of people with the intent to make it happen. The
Yeah.
government.
These people, if you have a sufficient number, like for example, the venture capitalist Vinod Khosla said in an interview some time back, saying that he says you need 10,000 people in any era, to make any change, make a significant change. 10,000 people across the world, 100 per for different fields, 100 per field.
Okay.
So that's what you need, is his hypothesis, which I think is, I believe,
It's achievable.
So if there are 100 designers in the world, 100 doctors, 100 engineers, 100 planners, 100 politicians, 100 whatever else,
Whatever.
across the world, perhaps you can make the
it.
change.
Doesn't look unachievable.
Yeah, my aim is to make 10 of such.
Yeah. So then it's the
Yeah.
you have the cascading effect of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So Mahesh, I mean, whenever you have a conversation with you, it's just not photography, it's just not art. It's very interesting. It's quite diverse. What would you attribute that to? Somewhere I feel it's got to do with your growing up influences, the place where you grew up from, or is it the books? Is it your travel? And just like you mentioned, you had a chance to interact with people like Nandan, and I'm sure many such great minds.
Yeah, growing up in a very different world, uh, a lot of reading, all that is important. I think I would attribute one aspect is the photography itself that took me. Uh, that helped me to interact people, soldiers in the war field, a suicide bomber,
Which we'll come back to.
yeah, I interact with the leaders of LTTE, to a business head. Go and fly in a jet with Vijay Mallya and do his portraits, and then photograph celebrities, others, different life form, different people, different kind. So the pluriverse, basically Escobar's pluriverse, to be able to really interact and see is very seeing, and not just looking, but seeing that
Seeing.
helped me, I guess, to go far beyond. It's not just
Just one
photography. It's
frame.
not just taking images.
Making images.
Yeah, it is. It is not even making now. Making images is also, but it's basically seeing. So it's like people ask me, so what do you teach? Do you teach photography? I don't teach photography. I do teach sometimes, but my focus is so because I'm not teaching people who want to be photographers, right? I'm teaching people who are want to be filmmakers, artists, photographers, designers, product designers, user experience designers. But I'd say that unless you can see clearly, you cannot do anything. So my work is to be able to help people see clearly through different layers, different dimensions. I noticed this again in an assignment in Sri Lanka. When I was photographing with Jan Goodwin, the story of the suicide bomber. It was 2007.
Was it Menaka?
Menake, her name is Menake. That's at least what we were told. The battle was still on in various areas in Sri Lanka. It was a very militarized place. It was impossible, to see anything clearly, to believe anybody, believe anything. Okay, it is very, very difficult to be there. So that's when I realized that in a conflict zone is very dark space. Even in bright daylight, it is dark, very, very dark. So how do you find your way through it? Impossible. So then later, when I came after a few years, it struck me that hey, actually, the world itself today is a conflict zone. Okay, the conflict on about water, to religion, to languages, to territory. Then the world, when the world is a conflict zone, world is also become very dark. So a designer, a photographer, film, anybody first has to learn how to see, how to go beyond what you see, what appears, to go beyond that.
So it becomes almost ethical that you as a photographer or a storyteller, I don't say photographer, as a storyteller, you should have an unbiased opinion, isn't it? You cannot say what is right or wrong. Your job is to show what is there and leave it to the viewer to interpret it in their own way. Or does photography at times influence?
So there are two kinds. Like if you're doing, say, for example, very personal documentary, so it could be a strong point of view that you're saying that hey, look, this is the way it is. But if you're doing, like, say, if I was shooting a war zone, then it'll be just to just to say, hey, this is what it is. You guys make out.
How do you do that? Because you are bound to be influenced by personal.
Yeah, of course. To give you an example, so again, let me go back to Sri Lanka, and we were in a forward area, and there were refugees. They're called internally displaced people. When there is a battle, war happening somewhere, and the people of that area have to go somewhere else. Okay, they're not The term used is IDPs, internally displaced people.
Oh, okay.
So internally displaced people were coming back to their, you know, and we actually went with one such person to her house, and which is completely in shambles. Yeah. So then I actually photographed her looking through her, everything was strewn around, some negatives and some everything was there at
Just
home, just in shambles. So I photographed that. So it was my aim to say that, okay, look, this is what war does, to people, and we should not be having this. That's what I can say. I can't do anything more than, I can't help her. I can't, you know.
But in a way, you are. You're trying to tell the story, trying through your photographs, so that you're hoping that there's going to be some kind of an impact somewhere. Because if you look back in history, many photographs are said to have stopped wars or changed the course of the wars. So, as visual storytellers, like you said, our job is to show the reality, but again, leave it to the audience to kind of
Yeah.
interpret and see what can be done. But with the digital age today, with the way photography has taken off, or I wouldn't say photography, the way visual storytelling has taken off, do you think that is still possible?
You mean photography influencing? No. Look, we have been seeing people in the Middle East, in Gaza. People have been using Instagram. The photographers there who are using
Correct.
Instagram to show pictures. We constantly get images all the time from Ukraine. Nothing is.
Have you become numb?
Yeah, we could perhaps. I think what we have also become is very self. It's completely insulated. Because it's kind of self-preservation. There's so much of things bombarding you from all sides. You don't know what to do. Then you say that, oh, I can't do this.
I just don't have the mental space.
Mental
Let me
space.
just survive.
Survive. So all I want to do is to have a good job, a decent salary, so I can get what I want to do and be
We,
happy. I don't know whether happy or not, but
but
be.
find my peace.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully.
So that's I think, yeah, I think there is a lot of yeah,
That's
there's too much happening. Yeah.
So, Mahesh, at this point, we'll just take a quick break and we'll come back because there's a lot more that we would like to talk about. We spoke about the history of photography, your growing up years, your influences. But then there's a lot more stories that we would love to hear from you. So, hang in there, keep watching the next episode where we will be talking more with Mahesh Bhat.